All right. Hey, I'll just open it up for questions. Hope everybody had good holidays here. Unique to be able to play a quality as competition as we played, obviously before and after Christmas here with West Virginia. Certainly the most challenging game I've ever competed in after Christmas. Normally those games are, if they're not league games, they're games to kind of get your feet under you a little bit. So by far the most challenging game. The numbers would suggest they're the best defensive team that we played, and by far the best rebounding team, and overall, certainly right there is one of the best teams we've played all year. They're having a great season. And I think they've won 7 out of 8 in the last 2 against us. So obviously it's been a while since we've played. So if you're asking why I scheduled it, that's a good question.
So I'll move to my next question then. You've mentioned how that they seem to be maybe a little bit different in a few ways than some of the West Virginia teams. And it seems like they obviously crash the glass really well. And they defend the 3 really well. And they're getting a lot of production from their post guys. And I always think about their guards and how physical and pressure, how much pressure they present. Does this team look like a typical West Virginia team that we're used to watching, or does this team have a few wrinkles to it?
This team looks like a great West Virginia team, a great Bob Huggins team. That's what this team looks like. Size, athleticism, length, physicality. If you're asking me what this looks like one of his typical great West Virginia teams that can reach a Final Four. Honestly, I think they look that much different than last year because of how long they are and how physical his teams are always physical, right? But they've got McDonald's All-American that's playing really well for them, but so I would say not different than they're different than last year's team, but not different from one of his typically great teams he's had there.
With the production that they get in the paint and the way they crash the glass, obviously it's a big game for your bigs. It also seems like a big game for your guards having to deal with the pressure that they present. What is your feeling right now where your guards are as far as being able to handle pressure that teams have thrown at you so far this year? Well,
I think it's a work in progress. With all of our guards, but obviously you have a freshman point guard who's got a heavy load to carry with some of that, but it's a work in progress. So that's as much as I could say right now. I think we're not there. It's obviously the one thing that's could really limit our group is one of the things at the top of the list is inability to take care of the ball consistently.
You always hear stories about coaches that will scrimmage against 6 defenders or 7 defenders to try to mimic their press. In what ways can you try to simulate how they play?
I think guys do that. I think as much as anything, we're trying to get back into the rhythm of how we want to play. It's tough we can't, our scout team can't match necessarily their size and length because they're one of the, few teams in the country, that probably them in Kansas, that start as big a front line as they do. I mean, they start 6'7", 6'3", 6'7", 6'9", 6'10". So it's I think probably the longest team in the country, or at least right up there. So you just try to do the best you can in terms of giving your guys an accurate look of what it's going to look like.
You're going against size like that. I know you were a little bit interested at the beginning of the season if you had lineups with Andre, Kyle, and Caleb, how those guys could perform offensively.
Yeah.
Do you feel better about that than maybe you did when the season started, or where are you on that?
I think there are times where we're good. I think my concerns with that come a little bit on the offensive end, come a little bit in terms of ball handling and floor spacing. I think that's where we need it. We'll have to continue to have flexibility within our lineup.
Of course, the last time you had a layoff of any duration, you came back and things they looked a little out of rhythm.
Yeah.
Did you do anything differently for this layoff? I mean, I know finals isn't the same as Christmas break, but Any concern there?
Yeah, sure. There's always a concern. And, we were not great after the long layoff after finals and before Minnesota, but also Minnesota played really well. I think we've obviously got a couple days before we play. We're going to try to do more live action and spend more time doing that. But, it's like I said, it's unique in that we're playing a team this good after Christmas, when normally that's not the case. If you look around the country, if teams aren't going into league play, they are typically playing a team that can get their feet wet a little bit and get some of the kinks out before they get into their league play. Well, we're playing one of the best teams in the country, and on paper, the best defensive team we played, the best rebounding team we played, the longest team we played. So it's good in a lot of ways because we get some immediate feedback and we get tested and challenged.
Some of the things that you just said there about West Virginia sound like Cincinnati still, and I'm wondering if you still see Huggins' fingerprint there, and if so, what that says about a coach's ability to make an imprint on a program that lasts even beyond their tenure.
I think, Cincinnati's I think a blue-collar school, blue-collar program, and Mick coming from Cincinnati, certainly that left an impression, a long impression, I think. Very similar in terms of physicality and rebounding. I think similar philosophies when it comes to that. Now, John, I think, is probably going to take it in a different level, different way, John Brannon, now at Cincinnati. But, yeah, I think certainly with Mick, Mick had his own imprint on it, but I think Hug's style certainly cast a pretty long shadow.
How was your Christmas?
It was good. Christmas was good. It was, we were able to get a break, and, great for our guys to get a break. Needed. They needed it. Well, we needed it. But we've turned the page to that now, and from that, I hope everybody had a safe and happy holiday and Christmas. But it was good. I reminded our guys, it's really changed in the last 10 years. You used to come back on Christmas when you were a college player. Even myself at an NAIA school came back Christmas night. You had about 2 days, 3 days. Not every Christmas night did you come back, but a lot you did travel back. And it's changed for the better. I heard John Calipari talk about he's always given his guys 3-4 days off. Felt like that was an advantage. We've tried to really protect that day even when you didn't. Now it has to be off. The NCAA stepped in, which was a good decision.
I think when I was in high school, I had to practice on Christmas. I think that was how we did it.
And that's the case for a lot, well, not a lot, but several high schools. The difference is they're in their own beds and they're at home and they're around their families, and maybe they're traveling for a holiday, but they got their families with them. Here it's different when you're, and you grow to get used to it when you're a freshman, but if you're coming back, if you're driving 5 hours on Christmas Day to get back to campus, that can be a difficult feeling. So the good thing is guys didn't have to come back until last night.
Did you do anything, though, to celebrate with them? Did you have like a team dinner or anything like that?
Yeah, we did. We did, and I think we put some video of it on social media. We do a team meal where we wrap gifts for families, needy families in the area, team-wide dinner. We do that every Christmas. We usually do it right before I think this case we did it actually a couple of days before we left for Minnesota.
Do you know Bob Huggins?
I know him just a little bit from speaking together at clinics. And trust me, you do not want to follow Bob Huggins in a clinic presentation. That is a bad slot to fall into, because you go from, a guy who's as good as there is at both teaching and bringing comedy to it. He's a great clinician.
How did you guys academically come through finals and the end of the semester and everything?
I would say, like a young team, we made it, and that's good. Some guys did really, really well. Some guys or some of us, old and young, are still learning, kind of the work it takes to put a good semester together.
I haven't asked you about Musa in a couple of weeks, I think. Where is he in his progression? Is he getting any closer to?
Yeah, good, doing well. We're going to try to see if he can do some live stuff in the coming weeks, but have not really thought much about kind of return because he really has not been able to do. Well, he hasn't been able to do anything live in practice.
Would that indicate closer to maybe a red shirt?
I think it's trending in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with Dwayne getting back, obviously the other night, but I know his fitness was an issue with all the time that he missed. How long does it take him? Will it take him to get back to where he was pre-injury, and how do you see that impacting?
Yeah, tough because he was in such a good rhythm. I think he's just got to put some good practice days and weeks together. I think Dwayne was in a great rhythm, and then he literally had 2 weeks off of not practicing, so it's not entirely his fault that he struggled like he struggled the other night. I think he was a little antsy to come in and make an impact as opposed to just letting it happen. But he'll get there. He just needs to put some good practice together.
One of the things that when I broke down the lineups and things as the game went on, I hadn't realized that you guys played the last 6.5 minutes without Caleb in the first half, and then the last 3.5 minutes without him in the second half, and you still won in a very close, hard-fought game. And I think back to last year, that would not have, I don't think, been the case. Is that maybe the latest example of this team is figuring out ways to, obviously he's very important to what you do, but that this team can succeed when he has a tough night or when he's in foul trouble?
Yeah, I think that remains to be seen, Adam, honestly, if we can consistently do that. I do think the balance of our team offensively helps that, but I also think that's a question that remains to be seen for us, how we play both offensively, defensively, and rebounding the ball without him in the lineup, because he right now he impacts all of those. And I thought he played well against Kentucky. I really did. He just was limited in his minutes, but I really thought Caleb played well.
Does the onus of replacing him, does it fall more collectively than maybe it ever has, because it seems like you have more guys that can step in, or does it fall more on Kyle, or does it fall more on EJ or even his brother?
Yeah, I think it's a collective thing. Yeah, I definitely think it's a collective thing. And, maybe he's as important really in this game as any game because his size and rebounding and his ability to kind of hold his ground against bodies that are going to lean and push on him. So he's really important in this particular game. Yeah, I think it's a collective thing. Last year, really, I don't know if you really know, Adam, how you're going to be without your best player in a game until you get into league play consistently and they know you like league opponents know you, and they take away your strengths. Because last year we just couldn't score. We could defend okay without him, but we couldn't score without him in league. Outside of league, we actually did okay at times without him.
Chris, DJ's second half in Vegas, did that earn him any extra consideration moving forward, or open your eyes at all, or anything of that nature?
Extra consideration in what sense?
In terms of getting more minutes or earning some.
I mean, he's played a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's played a lot. I think that especially by kind of freshman standards, I think he's played a lot and played a really significant role. And did a lot of really good things. He's got to continue to be consistent in terms of handling the ball and being able to initiate offense and all those things that freshmen can struggle with at times. It's a heavy load to be a freshman point guard, but I thought he did a great job. He's doing a great job defensively. I think he was really good in that game. Made some changing plays defensively, help side one time. But that's consistency defensively is the biggest key for all of our freshmen. So I think he's played a role where the opening game of the season, we went to him in crunch time. In this game, we went to him a couple times in crunch time. It's a big role for a freshman. It's not always going to be the case. There'll be other guys, but he's come through and done a good job, really good job.
Is it hard to be consistent when you have that good of a performance against that high level of an opponent? I mean,
Takes
would you
maturity.
rather see almost a little more of this than?
You know, good question. I don't really want to. I think it takes maturity.
Right.
It takes maturity. It takes maturity on his part to be able to respond. I think he's smart enough to know. You know, he was upset as anyone about his turnover barrage. I don't say barrage, but his games of kind of consecutive turnovers in kind of back-to-back games. He's very aware of that. And disappointed with that. So I think he was very conscious, in particular in the Kentucky game, of taking care of the ball, and that's got to really continue, particularly in this West Virginia game, where what they do is turn you over. But he's, as every freshman is, he's been through enough right now, kind of games where maybe he's been frustrated with, like, things that happen for freshmen that I think he understands. Your freshman year is a lot of ups and downs. It's ups and downs sometimes because of your own play. It's ups and downs sometimes because you don't play as much as you would hope to play. That's life as a freshman, really.
What did you think of the bounce pass that he threw to Kyle? I had to watch the replay a couple of times to see how that ball even got to him.
He's just got really good vision. Excellent ability to see things as they're happening. And I think as his fundamentals improves in terms of staying on his feet, and I think that we'll see a sharp, hopefully a sharp decline in his turnovers. His turnover will be better, but he's got outstanding vision, which is, I think, what a lot of what people see the athleticism, but as a coach, you see he sees things. And I've talked about his ability to get from 0 to 60, but I think right up there in terms of his physical tools is his vision.
And you said you don't know why you scheduled this game, but why did you schedule the game in Cleveland?
It was just an agreement that we made kind of with them. We were looking for a really good opponent. We were looking for a good site. And we felt like this was the site that was best for them and for us. And Cleveland's important to us, right? Make no mistake about it. Cleveland is a really important city for our fans in recruiting. It's a really important part of our basketball program. So I should probably begin there with that. That was really the main reason. We were looking for an opportunity to get in Cleveland, get in front of our fans in Cleveland, and also play an attractive game. And this is certainly that. We knew West Virginia was going to be good. I don't know if anybody anticipated them being quite this good, but I think we did as a staff. We felt like, hey, we were going to schedule a really good opponent in West Virginia, because it's just true with Huggins. He doesn't have, back-to-back down years.
Just lost my thought.
Sure.
You've talked in the past about how stressful being a coach can be.
Yeah.
And sometimes in humorous fashion. I'm just wondering if this team has the right mix and leadership that this year has been a little less stressful than some of the past few?
One, you don't ever want your players to sense or feel your stress.
Right. Well, and you've always handled it very sort of jokingly and tongue-in-cheek, but I'm wondering if this team is a little more self-animating than some others that you've coached here.
Probably. I think that comes with maturity. I do think that comes from maturity, and it's a fine line too, because stress does good things for us too as performers, and it's needed, and it's a valuable part of you being your best. So I think that you don't want your team too calm either. There's a level of stress that allows us to be our competitive best. But I think time will tell. When you go through, it's big boy basketball from here on out. So I think as we go through this, we'll kind of learn how we are in terms of handling all that.
It wasn't a great question, but I did remember it. We talked to Beeline about how the rims play up there.
No, I actually have not. I think Dockich has been up to watch him practice a time or two, but I've not had a chance to communicate much with John. But I know he's going to do a great job up there for sure. So.
Did your kids have a good Christmas?
Yeah, they did. I tell you, my daughter's 9, and she is 75-25 on Santa being real versus some skepticism. And we'll see how much longer and what those percentages do in the next few years. She made a plate of food for him and left a note and asked him to respond. So those of us, all that have kids, you know how special of a time that is. I actually put it out on social media just because I wanted to have it recorded really for my benefit. But those of us who have kids know that's pretty. It's for them, so it's for them. So it was fun. It's fun.